morning, Bucknutters. It is Thursday, March 22nd, 2018. I'm Dan Rubin. This is Bucknuts Morning 5 and change. It snows in the Midwest. It's cold. It's horrible. So let's just not even get into that. Let's get into Steve Wiltfong, Director of Recruiting for 24/7 Sports. Steve, how are you this fine morning?
Good morning, Daniel. Doing well. The sun is out, but it's a little chilly here in the Indianapolis suburbs. But sending sun your way. Or actually, you're sending the sun my way. I'm sending the weather your way. Weather goes east, and the sun obviously rises in the east and sets in the west. We got to figure it out.
Before we get started, let me clue you guys in on what's happening on Bucknuts today. It is one of the rare times Ohio State's providing access today. So we will get access to some quarterbacks and safeties and some new coaches around 11 a.m. However, ironically, Joe Burrow has class, so he will not be there. I'm going to put class in air quotes. You feel free. But we will talk to Dwayne Haskins and some other people today, so obviously that's going to be super interesting. Keep it locked to Bucknuts. That will be followed up by Pro Day. Scheduled to take part for Ohio State today, Jerome Baker, J.T. Barrett, Marcus Baugh, Michael Hill, Jalen Holmes, Sam Hubbard, Jamarco Jones, Tyquan Lewis, Eric Smith, Tracy Sprinkle, Denzel Ward, Damon Webb, and Chris Worley, some other dudes, even a couple guys from Otterbein and Urbana. Billy Price will be here to interview. Obviously, he's not working out, so we will have some of that content. Now, Ohio State does not hook us up with this. They let us in the whack, but they put us about 100 yards away, so the video will be suspect, and the players are the only ones who can give out the information, so we will mine for that afterwards. So make sure you have it locked into Bucknuts all day. Like I said, this won't be the longest BM5, but we got a ton of coverage coming later today, including some live chatter with quarterbacks, including Dwayne Haskins, which should be very cool. Okay.
Pro Day's always cool. I love Pro Days at the school. It's obviously, these guys are out there trying to solidify their NFL draft stock and improve it, but at the same time they get to do it in their own facility around some of their best friends, and it's always a good atmosphere, and everyone in the building's pulling for each other as opposed to the NFL Combine where it's a very business-like setting. Inside the WAC, it'll be a great atmosphere for the Pro Day.
Yeah, Ohio State's one of those spots where you'll have at least one representative from every single NFL team. So it will be a who's who of the NFL power brokers. Very cool stuff, and we'll have tons of coverage on it. Pat Murphy, Steve Howwagon, Dave Biddle will all be there with bells on. So look forward to that, especially from the quarterbacks. Obviously, quarterback is the number 1, 2, and 3 topic for the Buckeyes right now. Another topic, or maybe the fourth topic, would be their addition of Sampson James, the running back from Indiana. We had actually talked about this. It's not surprising, but for those who weren't privy to award-winning BM5s with you before this, Steve, tell people a little bit about, especially now that he's going to be a Buckeye, in detail. Tell people about Sampson James, a little bit about his background, maybe how he's performed in Indiana, maybe how he compares to other backs that come through Indiana. Obviously, Ohio State doesn't do a ton of recruiting in that state.
Well, Sampson James is a prospect that sometimes I get accused of flipping my crystal ball a few times for kids, and that's an accusation that's correct because these young men change their minds all the time. But Sampson James was one where I was Ohio State the whole time. It was a matter of time when one of Indiana's top prospects was going to be a Buckeye. They led right away in Ohio State. When Ohio State recruits a young man, the way they recruited Sampson James, they're tough to beat. And what I mean by that is when they're one of the first offers, which Ohio State, I believe, was the second offer after Indiana. And then when they send the position coach out multiple times, and when the position coach is building a great report like Tony Alford did, then you have Kevin Wilson, who has the Indianapolis ties, who was also involved. Urban Meyer goes to the school and sees the young man. They're tough to beat. And so Sampson James felt the trust with the coaching staff, but then goes on his visit and goes out with Antonio Williams, who was the closer on this recruitment. Sampson James talked with Antonio, talked with other players, and the players confirmed with Sampson, what you see is what you get here at Ohio State. It's all real. And so Sampson James did not plan on committing to Ohio State this early, figured, why am I waiting? and took his spot. 6'1", 211 pounds. He looks good physically, but I'm telling you, there's a lot still in the tank for him, as he looks like a high school junior. I mean, he has the 211 pounds of a NFL type back, but you can tell that there's a lot of development still in there for Sampson James, as he is still, some of these guys look like grown men at 17 years old. Sampson James, I mean, he's a big kid, but he's a kid. So I love his upside physically. He runs hard. He competes hard in all facets of the game, including blocking. He can catch the football, and he's a guy that Ohio State had at the top of their board, regardless of position, as you can as evidence the amount of time they put into recruiting this young man. So I know for a fact that he was a guy that they were tracking well before they even offered him a scholarship, and they were fired up inside the WAC to get his, or inside the Woody to get his commitment. And it's a good early pickup for Ohio State. They now have 3 in the fold.
What do you believe their approach will be at running back? Last year, most previous cycle, they took 2 in Master Teague and Brian Sneed. There's some thought that they will only take 1 in this cycle. If they got their number 1 choice, there's been a lot of talk of them in the mix with the IMG backs, Noah Cain, Trey Sanders. Do you believe that they will stop recruiting those guys at IMG? I know I believe Cain came out and said Sampson's commitment wouldn't affect him, but what's your vibe on the rest of the running back deal there?
I know for a fact Ohio State led for Noah Cain a couple of days ago. I don't think Noah Cain will come to Ohio State now. Just is what it is. What do you expect him to say on the record? And hell, maybe he still will, but I don't think he'll come. I think Sampson James will be the back in Ohio State's class. I guess I don't have anything else to say to that, Dan. I think Sampson James is back in Ohio State's class. Yeah.
1 is 1. It's not 2.
Well, it's recruiting, so will Ohio State have to keep some other guys warm, just in case I would, but I expect Sampson James to sign with Ohio State. I feel good about this commitment. It wasn't a bachelor party commitment where, hey, look at me, I committed, but I want to have multiple bachelor parties and so commit numerous times and be in the spotlight. I think that Sampson James is excited about this commitment, and we'll stick with the Buckeyes, and Ohio State's fired up about it too.
Funny you should mention a bachelor party commitment, and we're not tossing around accusations here, but Dallas star Marquez Beeson had offers from Illinois, LSU, and Ohio State, and had announced that he was going to visit all 3, or essentially were his finalists, and then he committed to Illinois. Steve, I may be a little bit of a conspiracy theorist here, but a Dallas area prospect looking at LSU, Ohio State, and Illinois, choosing Illinois strikes me as suspect. Your thoughts?
Don't forget Texas A&M. And we talked off the air. That's why I said bachelor party commitment. What I meant by that, and I think I kind of explained it, is I think half the time kids commit and they don't stick is because they want the excitement of the actual commitment, and it's cool and it's fun, and hell, I think this feels good. I'm going to commit, and we're going to have a party, and I committed, and kids will do that multiple. There'll be some kids each cycle that'll do that multiple times through the process, and I compare it to the guy who gets married a second time and has a second bachelor party, and you shouldn't get a second bachelor party. But the hoopla of, it's an exciting time. Everyone's celebrating you and your commitment, and that was the analogy I came up with. Is it a bachelor party? Want multiple of them commitment. Beeson, I don't think anyone expects him to stick. Good for Illinois to get him in the fold. They did a great job recruiting him, and that's what if you're Lovie Smith and the Illini staff, you're not. Hell yeah, you're taking his commitment, and you're going to battle to keep it. But this already seems like it's got a Buki Radley-Hiles, Nebraska feel, and I know Nebraska had a coaching change that you could point to that Buki Radley-Hiles didn't stick. But Boogie Riley Howes was always going to enjoy the recruiting process. And Marquez Beeson, even though he now says that he's not taking any officials but Illinois, I'd be surprised if that holds true. And I wouldn't be mad at him if he took more trips. You know, you only get to go through the process once. So if you want to have 4 commitments, and I'm not saying he will, but I'm not mad at any kid that wants to have 4. I think Beeson will eventually take visits. A&M was the leader. Then he went to LSU, had a great visit to LSU. LSU was the team to beat. Then there was all the smoke about Illinois before the visit, and then he committed to Illinois on the visit. And Illinois has recruited a couple kids from his high school. It's a high school that turns out a lot of talent. Texas A&M has a commitment for their top-rated prospect right now. So this place has guys every year. Illinois has done a good job there. They did a good job with the kid. They got him committed. But the kid, if he signs in the early signing period with Illinois, I'll come back out and say, man, I was wrong. Good for Illinois. They did a hell of a job of keeping this young man.
The good part about that is he actually won't do that, so you won't have to come back and do that. I will be shocked if Mr. Beeson ends up playing for Lovie Smith unless Lovie Smith becomes defensive coordinator at LSU or Ohio State, which I don't think is going to happen either. So there you have it, people. Like we said, keep it locked to Bucknuts. We have some great coverage coming today, player coverage, quarterbacks, then pro day, rare media access. Keep it locked in, Bucknutters. Have a good one.
Take care, guys. Thanks, Daniel.